Hello and welcome to episode 21 of Lost in Chronologically Lost, where last time we got the best episode ending, so this time we get the absolute worst episode ending.
Well, the worst episode ending for you, I think.
I'm still mad about it.
Yeah, but we will get there. But where do we begin with this one, Matthew?
Well, I think we began with, let me see in my notes. Saeed was doing some stuff and Locke comes up to him and
He
Saeed...
was trying to do some orienteering with Rousseau's map.
Yeah, and then, but it's basically, well, it's setting up some map stuff, but it's basically about, Locke left Boone behind.
Yeah, he left Boone to go have a fake drug trip.
Yeah.
Which is oddly, extremely specific
Yeah.
to what exactly he wanted Boone to go through. Which
Yeah,
is like,
I mean, we can just say from the start, yeah, this was a drug trip, which I didn't get until it revealed that, so I was really confused. But, yeah. The whole time during the drug trip, I was thinking, wow, why would Locke do this? I don't get his goal here, even if this was trying to help Boone. This is just such a weird thing to do to them. And, alright, what would I say? Yeah, so the whole time I was thinking, what is Locke's plan here? Why would he tie Shannon up? I thought this was supposed to make Boone get over her. And then it's nope, that was just a drug trip. Why would he make him go through a drug trip? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it makes sense by the end, but it was very lucky about what Boone tripped out about.
It feels like Locke, yeah, he made a baseless gamble that this would give Boone some character development, and he was right, but it's you didn't know, Locke, you didn't know.
Right, so Saeed shows that the compass bearings on the island are strange.
So I went through two reactions to this. My first reaction was, okay, this isn't going to matter at all. This isn't even a real mystery. This won't matter. And then I realized, oh no, wait, it's just the electromagnetism.
Yep, just electromagnetism will fuck with things that rely on magnets to work.
Yeah. So, yay, we have the complete explanation for that one. Yeah. So, we get Jack talking to Locke, and Locke makes some excuses for why they're not getting any boar. And
yeah, says they're leaving the valley, and he says he hadn't seen Boone, which, sure.
Yeah. And then we get Kate and Son talking, which I like. I like seeing that. And she's explaining she took English lessons. She's leaving out that she cheated on Jin.
Mostly because the writers hadn't thought of that yet.
Yeah, I bet Son doesn't like thinking about it. But she does say that she loves him, which, yeah, they're still portraying it as he's kind of abusive, but she does love him, and it's knowing everything about them, that's justified, but just still how they've been portraying it is whack.
Jin offers Hurley a sea urchin that he rejected back in the first episode, and Hurley, he does eat it, and then immediately throws it up.
I would probably throw up too. That, I don't know. Also, there's Hurley saying, there's a room where you speak English, and then you says, your wife's hot, and Jin doesn't react.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I mean, you were taking a chance there, Hurley.
We have something where, Charlie gives a thing where saying, if there's one person on this island I trust absolutely, it would be John Locke, which is interesting.
I would trust Jack.
Oh, absolutely. I would trust Jack way more than Locke.
Yeah. Jack is giving Charlie aspirin to deal with withdrawal. Locke is giving Boone weird jungle drugs to make him trip out.
I just imagine, it's how am I doing with week 2 heroin withdrawal? It's well, I gave you the aspirin for that. Okay, sure. I mean, they're on an island, what can you do? But,
well, we get Michael...
More drug trip sequences in this one where Shannon is killed.
Yeah. Well, there was a thing we skipped because we get some... Michael is looking at a box, which by the end of this one I remembered what the box was, and I like it. But Jin actually brings Hurley a fish because he's proud of him, I guess.
Yeah, it was he ate the sea urchin, so now he gets
Yeah,
a fish.
just nice. Nice,
Mm-hmm.
nice enough. And also, Jack gives guava seeds to Kate, and I just found this so baffling because I'm like, how would you recognize? Like, are you like, if you gave me some random seeds, I would not be like, oh, guava seeds, of course.
I mean, if you had been eating a lot of guava, I think you would recognize them.
Honestly, I still probably wouldn't.
I mean, I'd like to think I could recognize apple seeds if someone handed me a bunch of them.
I don't think I could recognize apple seeds.
Yeah, so Boone shows up and attacks Locke because he thinks Locke basically killed his sister.
Which it was so whack before I realized that it was a dream sequence because I was like, are they killing off Shannon now? Pretty sure there's another Shannon backstory for it to show.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a whole other Boone and Shannon flashback episode. So
Yeah, I mean, it was clear that this one was first. And I'm like, well, there's got to be another one too.
but Locke, was trying to be all mystical, saying, "Oh, you needed to let go of Shannon," and
Yeah, which, like, okay, like it was a good conclusion that Boone was relieved. He realizes he was relieved when Shannon died. Like, oh, that's a good realization for you to go through.
and yeah, this really works, as we'll see in the next few episodes. Boone is basically just following on Locke's every word at this point.
Yeah, we should maybe give him a drug trip and see how he feels when Locke dies.
Yeah. So that was A24, so we skipped A25.
Anu
Now-
Lucia's gang makes it to a beach. Nothing happens.
Yep. We have Michael looking for Walt, who is training with Locke.
Yeah.
Everything.
And so I
this whole
figured
thing
this-
where Michael and Walt have this thing. What do you think the flashbacks were?
It was when Michael goes to Australia to get Walt, and he finds the box of letters because that has to come back at the end of this episode.
Yeah, it was some stuff before that too. It was everything except for the court case.
Really? So it even included like how Susan left him?
Yes.
Huh, I didn't expect it to be that much.
Yeah, I could kind of tell because you can see how the court case flashback has a distinct opening and ending. So
Yeah. Well, damn. Then like if I was honestly frustrated by parts of this episode, but like if I just watched this as it was originally, this would have been like the most emotional episode for me.
well, that's fair enough. I really liked this episode when I originally watched it because it made me think that the plot was really going to move forward with the whole raft thing.
Oh, yeah, no, the whole raft thing, one of the things I didn't like about this episode was the whole raft thing just made me think, wow, this won't matter.
Yeah. Anyways, Michael doesn't like that Walt is hanging around with Locke. Locke says that Walt is different and should realize his potential, which, I mean, he is clearly, like, magical in some capacity, but
Yeah. Oh.
nobody's ever going to realize his potential because the writers cast a child actor. So
Yeah. And I think we get Boone tackling Michael, which is a Boone moment. But I feel like the thing is, if you want Walt, like honestly, if you could use knives and a kid was trying to learn it from you, but their parent didn't know about it, would you teach them?
I mean, probably, but I would also probably try and talk to the parent about it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You ask the parent first, because then the parent knows they can trust you.
Yeah, Michael talks to Son about all his parenting issues and how he doesn't know how to be a dad because he wasn't in Walt's life for most of it due
wasn't
to
his fault.
Susan.
So then so Michael, he goes through the realization that, like, they just gotta get off of here. And it did make me think, like, he doesn't want Walt to grow up to be the kind of person he would have to survive on this island. Whereas Locke is seeing it as, like, we're on the island, you gotta do what you gotta do. And on that level, I think Locke is right. I think you can't live in denial of the fact that you're on this island.
Yeah, so Michael wants to build a raft, which, I mean, if if you were on a real island, probably not that bad of an idea, especially when you have...
Yeah.
Especially as we see it being constructed later. It looks like at least a,
Oh yeah.
a good raft.
When we see it later, I was like, oh shit, they actually built it. And I was like, oh shit, that is surprisingly good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I can't not watch it with the meta knowledge that this will not matter.
Yeah.
Or maybe it'll matter. Maybe it'll like okay, random guess. Maybe those who get on the raft end up washing up at Hydra Island or something. Like maybe it'll bring you somewhere in the plot, but they're not going to escape the island with it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say the raft won't matter, but it's not gonna get them off the island.
Yeah.
That's
It might get them off the beach. In a very literal sense, in that it will get into the water.
Walt is reading a comic, so Michael tries to talk to him about art, and then fails.
Yeah. And part of why I didn't love this is just like, it's painful to watch, and I don't even get the flashbacks. I just get the awkward stuff of him trying to relate to Walt. It's just hard to watch.
Yeah, then we have the Tailies finding the Arrow Station. And I should say...
Wait, we say Tailies?
Oh, yeah, people call them the Tailies.
Yeah, well, I'm fine with that. But yeah, it says Dharma, they go in, the lights even work.
Yeah, when I talked previously, I don't know if you remember on the podcast, of, if there's a station they don't go to, and I said they never go to the Arrow Station. I was wrong, because I had completely forgotten about this part.
Oh.
So they go to all of them.
But then by that context and logic, that's telling me this station won't even matter.
I mean, it's the one that the Tail section found. Like...
Yeah. Well, they find a Bible, and yeah, that's... I mean, Echo's character arc is clearly happening. He is just not saying shit, so we can't really see what it is.
Yeah. And I mean, this station isn't that interesting. There's no magic stuff in it. It's just a place. Like...
Yeah. It is a building with things like walls and lights.
Yeah, Bernard finds a radio in the station, so that's something.
Yeah.
Goodwin tries to get an excuse to separate himself with the radio.
Yeah, and Ana Lucia just has to go with him. And also, when they're climbing...
She knows by this. I think she's
Yeah.
realized by this point.
So, when they're climbing, we have a shot of, like, the meadows and the mountains that I'm like, in the show, this is definitely a totally different location from where the main gang is, but it looks like they're on the exact same side of the mountain and not that far.
Yeah. So she,
anyway,
starts kind of questioning Goodwin on the
yeah,
others' motives.
We have all this buildup of tension, even of, like, they have the knife and they're giving the knife back and forth, and it's like, who's going to attack who and stuff. And I'm like, shit, just resolve it.
Yeah, and so, yeah. The jig is up. Anna has realized Goodwin is the other. He says Nathan wasn't on the list because Nathan wasn't a good person. And that the children are better off than where they were. So,
Yeah, I feel like Goodwin, like, back during Juliet's flashback, Goodwin was really portrayed as the sane guy, but he's still one of the others, and they're still kind of crazy.
Yeah, so they fight, and Anna kind of kills Goodwin.
I gotta mention, like, I don't love that Ana Lucia... It feels like she could have figured this out so long ago, and I'm just kind of wondering what made her finally figure it out, where I'm usually fine with that kind of thing if it's a kind of story in a medium where we see in the character's head and see how they get to the realization, but this is a TV show, we don't really get that, and because of that, it just feels kind of arbitrary to me that she figured it out only now.
Well, I think it kind of makes sense because she was so hyper-focused on thinking that it was Nathan that she was blind to looking at any other possibility. And so once Nathan was gone, she started thinking, what if it is someone else then? And she finds out it's good.
Right.
I think it's only been like, I don't know, 2 days since I think Nathan died.
Yeah,
so
fair enough. I mean, this is a minor complaint anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I just realized Ethan and Nathan are similar names. I think that was on purpose.
Oh, yeah. We have Charlie
Anyway.
looking for Claire's stuff. Michael getting some boat materials from some wreckage. Of course, Sawyer has the diary, but Charlie just punches him and takes it.
Sawyer just. I mean, he says he does his Sawyer shtick on Charlie, and Charlie is not dealing with it. And Charlie says, "You hit like a ponce," and British people use weird words. You ever notice that?
I think every non-British person ever has noticed that.
Yeah, I mean they call guns Rudy Tooty Point and Shooties. But anyway, so I looked
and
up.
They call keyboards letter tables.
Yeah. And so I looked up what a ponce means, and it either means a pretentious man or a man who lives off a prostitute's earnings. I think he means the first one if he's sort of talking about how well Sawyer punches. But I don't know. Maybe he's cutting deep and saying that Sawyer was a pimp or something.
Yeah, we have Shannon saying, "Oh, she's gonna go build the raft, and Boone should come and help her." And Boone's like, "No, you can go do it by yourself."
Boone says more than that. Boone is like, "You have bulimia. You should be happy you're getting skinny," which is like, that is not a kind place to hit someone.
I don't think she actually. I don't know. I don't think she actually is bulimic. I think he's just making a. I mean, she was refusing to eat chocolate in the first episode, so.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, Locke is mature enough to tell Walt, like, your dad doesn't want us hanging out, we shouldn't. But of course, Michael shows up and gets mad anyway because he doesn't get the context that Locke was saying that.
Yeah, we have Walt yelling that, Michael's not his dad because he was never around, and
it's a punch. It's just like a frustrating punch in the gut to me now.
Yeah, and of course,
when it's not Michael's fault.
Michael takes the worst possible route with this, which is he burns Walt's comic, which, excuse me, you're on an island. This is limited reading material.
Yeah, and also that's Hurley's comic.
Exactly.
Anyway, so Walt understandably just goes for the 10-year-old option of running away, and Michael understandably is like, that's not good, let's find him. And we get the whole, Locke is like, I'm gonna help you find him. The two put aside their differences to work together.
Yeah, we have also Charlie, who's clearly really missing Claire, and a kind of a funny scene of him going through whether or not he should read her diary.
Yeah, it just... I mean, it's like you don't read people's diaries. Honestly, if I was alone on an island, that bored, and in that situation, I'd read it.
Yeah, especially when Claire might be, gone forever. They don't know she's going to come right back, but... Yeah, so Walt is in jungle and Vincent runs away and they get attacked by a CGI polar bear.
Yeah, and we have the whole... Walt is in, like, one of those, like, bundles of trees, which they also used when in Boone's trip, and I'm just like, wow, these bundles of trees that I guess they're natural, they're really... The writers are really taking advantage of them.
Yeah, I believe they're called Banyan Groves. They're a natural kind of thing that just exists.
Gorgeous nature on the island.
Yeah.
But anyway, we have the whole thing of, like, Michael and Locke have to work together, and they save Walt, and I didn't love this, because it feels like... Okay, first of all, the polar bear is obviously just random conflict to have to escape, and it also looks so CGI. The camera gets so shaky to hide that I think it's CGI.
Yeah.
But anyway, the whole thing is just like Michael and Locke have to work together, and because of that, they trust each other more and put aside their differences. I think that worked, and like Locke helps Michael not fall off the branch that they're walking on, and like so they're showing trust. But then with Michael and Walt's whole issues, I just feel like the entire they were fighting, but now he saves his life, and now they are totally fine with each other again. I don't know, it felt to me like their issues ran deeper than being resolved by just that. And luckily it isn't resolved by just that, but I still just think like the plot of like, Walt's in danger and Michael saves him and that's what helps their relationship is like kind of cliche.
Yeah, and then, Michael ends up giving Walt all the letters that he had sent him
Yeah. See,
over the
that
years.
That is good. That is suddenly like, oh my god, this is the most satisfying thing I've gotten in Lost yet.
Yeah, and they do make a point that, yeah, his mom never gave them to Walt, but she
Yeah.
did keep them, so
Yeah.
she probably planned to give it to him someday.
And Michael doesn't like say, "Oh, she kept them because she was a bitch." He's just like, I don't know why she didn't show them to you. But yeah, I mean this would have hit so hard if I watched it as an original episode, but it also hit so hard having like the long-term payoff and when I first saw him get the letters. Yeah. It hit.
And we have Charlie reading Claire's diary, which has some very, nice things written about Charlie. So that's nice to read for him.
Yeah. Also, Michael was showing Walt some of his drawings, which I think there was a penguin on the beach, which was awesome.
Well, that was part of the letter he sent.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, still just like, I like that now they're actually connecting on Michael's ability to draw, and it's not just like Walt doesn't care.
Yeah. I mean, this is the one that the nurse in the hospital recommended, penguin with a sunburn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, then we
Anyway.
have Locke out looking for Vincent, but instead he finds Claire.
And there was also something about Claire dreaming of the Black Rock, which the thing is, isn't that a ship? But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
It's,
Claire is
that
just...
whole thing is weird. Like,
So, I had a thought about Claire coming back here, in that I expected to have an arc where they have to track down the others and rescue Claire, and I think my mindset, I generally look towards active storytelling, where they have to do something to get Claire back, but Lost is a very reactive show, where it's about surviving in the unknown, so it's about new threats and weird dangers and impossible to understand things coming up, and them reacting to them, so then it is more in line with Lost's writing style, that Claire just mysteriously comes back, and that's yet another thing that they have to react to.
yeah, see, here's the thing. You would have seen what Claire was doing and all of the... and, like, what happened to Claire during this period where she was gone. Except that those flashbacks are part of, like, a dream sequence, so it only technically happens when she dreams about it.
So the what was I gonna say? So the Desmond ones aren't the only dream sequence flashbacks that I missed out on.
No, this is the big one. Well, it depends. I don't know. You'll see.
I mean, I was thinking like, wow, I know I won't get to see it because it's chronologically lost. And I was thinking, oh, well, that's why she gets I mean, it's like, oh, she gets amnesia, so then it's like, that's why, I don't know. Also, her having amnesia is such, like, mid-2000s TV show writing.
To be fair, they do at least point out that it's like, how often have you actually diagnosed actual amnesia like this? And Jack is like, well, never, but... so with this whole thing, with Claire being back and everything, and, hunting Ethan, what do you think the flashbacks were?
I think it might have been a Charlie flashback.
Yes, it was.
Oh, wait. No, of course it was. I mean, I guess I'm just not sure specifically. It might have been one of them dealing with his religion, because it's kind of a morality thing with religion, and he makes a moral choice at the end. Honestly, though, I'm just not sure. There are a lot of Charlie flashbacks.
It was the one where he tries to scam a rich woman.
Huh.
Yep.
Not sure how that ties in.
Well, because at the end of that one, she says that you can never take care of anybody.
I guess. I don't know, that flashback, I wasn't that big on it.
Oh, I know.
I have a prediction now that only just occurred to me, but I kind of think now that, like, I think when we see Claire's flashback of what happened, I'm not sure I expected her to have just been at the others, where the others are, and maybe she will be, but now I'm seeing the possibility that she never actually made it there. She managed to escape from Ethan while he was taking her there, and then make her way back here on her own. I think that is a possibility, just because that allows the writers to still not show us where the others live and what that's like.
So Charlie gives Claire her diary to help fill in her memory. And Saeed says it doesn't make sense for Claire to have escaped, because, I mean, to be fair, that is
Yeah.
A heavily pregnant woman trying to fight off someone who's clearly
Yeah.
a strong attacker.
And if she did make it to the other's Dharma facility, that's even more unlikely. But also, I really liked that the episode before set up the entire diary thing so that we could then have, oh, she can read her diary and know that it's like true.
Yeah, I mean, in
Yes.
earlier episodes, you do see her writing in it. They just
I think
guess-
I just forgot about that. But
yeah, they don't bring
I-
attention to it, but you see her writing it.
yeah.
Pretty
Well, I
frequently.
do like the setup. I do like just like that the diary exists because then she's like, okay, I wrote this myself, so they're not like telling me a false story.
Yeah.
But anyway,
we
so
got Charlie
she
and
remembers.
Jin. Oh,
Well, I want to say she remembers the plane crashing, and I just really like the lines from Jack. We were all on that plane. It crashed here on that island. Like, that was almost a month ago. Where there's simple lines when it's like straight facts that she has to face.
so then we have Charlie and Jin walking through the jungle when Ethan attacks and demands
Yeah.
that Claire be brought back.
You skipped over a couple other things I wanted to talk about, actually.
Oh, okay.
We got a lot of Charlie just explaining things to Claire and her being freaked out. And I'm just hoping that Charlie doesn't, like, come on too strong. Because if she doesn't remember your relationship, you can't force it. And luckily, he doesn't. He takes it slow. And, like, she kind of asks if they're friends. And it's nice that she trusts him on it. And also, they do raise the idea that she could have been brainwashed by Ethan or something. And that's some kind of play. And honestly, that seemed like a very real possibility to me. But then then we immediately see that no, Ethan is not happy.
Yeah.
And then Charlie goes with Jin, and he mentions it's nice that Jin doesn't have to deal with any of their drama, except for that one time. But then, yeah, Ethan slings a rock at Jin, which looks like it hits him in the chest, but somehow knocks him out.
Yeah, so he demands that Claire be brought back or he'll kill one person every day. So we get a whole argument between Charlie, Locke, and Jack arguing over what to do.
Honestly, I'm just happy that he told them, because when Ethan was threatening Charlie, my biggest worry was it would turn into some kind of Charlie doesn't want to endanger anybody, so he has to give Claire and doesn't tell anybody that Ethan like made this threat. So just the fact that he told everybody and they're making plans, I like.
Kate wants to use the guns from the case in order to fight the others, which is honestly a good idea.
She is literally right.
And Charlie clearly still feels guilty that Claire was taken in the first place. And then we have Boone falling asleep on guard duty, because of course.
Yeah.
And Scott is dead.
The thing about Boone falling asleep is that the transition was so weird to me, where like we saw his eyes closing, and then we saw like the loud noise waking him up on guard duty like the next morning. And I almost thought it was a dream sequence again for him. I was just confused by the editing.
No, that's just how it went.
Felt very abrupt, but because it was so abrupt, it was kind of a real oh shit to me to realize that, yeah, Ethan got someone. Someone is dead. And he came in from the water. They didn't think of that.
And so Shannon tells Claire the truth of everything that happened, which,
of course, she's going to be like, why didn't you tell me? You always got to tell people about stuff, because they're always going to find out, and they're always going to be mad at you for not telling them. It's never a good idea to not tell people stuff.
yeah. Locke says he doesn't want to track Ethan back because of the danger. He's like, look what happened last time.
You know, I kind of want to mention the elephant in the room. I think that there are way better ways for the others to get new people than by kidnapping the children and babies of whoever randomly washes up on the island. I don't get why that's their, like, main shtick. I don't get why that's, like, the most important thing to them.
I don't either, especially with things like even when Rousseau washed up. I don't know why they couldn't have just taken her. Like, why'd they only have to take the baby? I mean, I guess that one is more understandable because of Widmore just wanted them to die.
Yeah, but it's just like, it definitely feels like the writers thought of this mysterious group of others who takes babies and children as the threat before thinking about why. But then when it comes down to knowing how the others actually work, it's just like recruit people from outside the island. You do have the submarine. It's not like you don't have access.
Well, they have recruited people from outside the island.
Yeah, but then because they can do that, I don't know why they obsess over the children who land on the island so much, as though they need them so desperately.
Well, I mean, they want to study the whole pregnancy thing, and every time they try and study it on themselves, they lose a member. So
I guess there is that. But that's a pretty recent thing. I mean, especially in terms of like having Juliet there to study it.
Well, it's 3 years.
Alright. Anyway, where were we?
So Jack gets out the guns because they're going to use Claire as bait, and he ends up getting Sawyer and Kate involved.
Yeah, and he didn't want to get Kate involved, and I'm like, I would have chosen Kate over Sawyer.
Oh, absolutely. Like,
I mean, she knows how to use a gun. We know that for a fact. And honestly, so they set up the trap, and I'm glad that the trap works. Because Ethan has been a big threat, and so Jack tackles Ethan and drops his own gun, and I'm like, you idiot. Like, don't drop your gun. Keep your distance, keep the gun pointed at him. Ethan is a tough guy physically. He might beat your ass and then take the gun. So the whole fight, I'm worried that Ethan's going to grab the gun that's on the ground and they're going to lose their advantage. And that doesn't happen. And Jack actually just beats his ass.
yeah.
He doesn't even like need to gang up on him. He doesn't need help. He just successfully beats his ass on his own, and that's great.
Yeah, Jack beats him up, and just as they're about to start questioning him,
Yeah.
Charlie just shoots him repeatedly.
That is... So Charlie's going to say later that... He's going to say later that it's not like Ethan would have told them anything. And honestly, he might be right, but I still would have tried.
If I were Jack, I would have tried. If I were Charlie, I'd probably just shoot him.
And I just feel like I get Charlie's point that he does not want to risk any danger to Claire. Ethan cannot live. And if it was shooting Ethan or letting him go, I would agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think this is a situation where, if necessary, Ethan's got to be killed. He's killing their people. He's trying to take a pregnant woman. I think it is so valid for them to use the guns. But I think when it's between taking Ethan prisoner with guns or just shooting him, that's like I think you could take him, or even just like not even like try to keep him prisoner. Like, you don't have to dig a hole like Ana Lucia did for Nathan. You could just take like half an hour to question him and then shoot him after that. Or Charlie could just say, all right, we tried questioning him. Anyway, guys, I want to shoot him. Like, you could bring that up. I don't know. I think he could have been more patient.
I think he was kind of out of patience by this point. So we have a cutesy scene when they return to camp where Claire says she remembers peanut butter.
Actually, I just remember... See, this just reminded me of something else. The thing is, like, not shooting Charlie... I mean, what am I saying? I'm gonna start over. This reminded me of something else. So, Charlie shooting Ethan... It also just serves as a way to not progress the plot too much, to keep us, the viewers, from getting to know about the others at all. Because you think, oh, we can question Ethan, we'll finally learn something, and it's like, nope, you don't get to learn anything, the plot's still going to progress very slowly. And that reminds me a lot of this, because I've made comparisons to the show The Expanse before, which is a great show, and that just reminds me a lot of... there's this one part during it where we're in a very similar situation where someone is theoretically about to give reveals and then someone just shoots him and is like, nope, he deserved to die. And it was also so frustrating to be in that situation. And there the justification was, if he gave us information, he was gonna convince us that he shouldn't die. He was gonna successfully make an excuse. And I didn't want to let him get away with that. He had to die before he convinced us that he shouldn't die. And honestly, I can kind of see that for Charlie right now. I see that if they let Ethan live and started questioning him, I think Charlie wouldn't have been able to convince others that they still needed to kill him.
So then Claire remembers peanut butter, which is cute, even though you hated on that scene.
It's the worst. Well, it's not the worst. We get some of the worst later. Yeah, so I guess that's basically where it ends. We get Sawyer waking up, a boar is licking his feet or something, and tears his tent away. That sure is a way to start an episode.
Yeah, so for this whole episode, the whole rest of this episode was the rest of a normal episode. So can you guess what the flashbacks were?
I'm guessing it was Sawyer killing that guy and meeting Jack's dad.
Yes, it was. It also started with seeing Sawyer's parents die.
Oh yeah, and we even got like a dream sequence of that too.
Yeah.
And I know that you've seen that dream sequence, or no, you've seen that bit a lot because you told me before they always show that on the Previously on Lost.
Yeah, anytime it's a Sawyer episode from now on, every Previously is going to have that involved.
Yeah, so there were aspects of this episode that I thought I liked. I mean, you know, him remembering that he knew Jack's dad, and like, you know, I think his characterization at the end of whether he wants to be a killer is good. But this was a Sawyer and Kate shipping episode.
Ugh, don't remind me.
There was so much of it. It's just like, if you're a Sawyer, and even just the Sawyer focus in general, if you're a Sawyer fan and you really just like seeing Sawyer do stuff, then Sawyer's whole vendetta against this boar is going to be really fun. But if you're not that into Sawyer like us, I just feel like the entire boar conflict just feels like it does not matter.
Yeah, and so here's the thing. So Sawyer goes to chase this boar, and he starts hearing whispers. And he hears the whispers of what the man he killed in Australia said before he died. Which doesn't make sense. I know what the whispers are, and it's not that.
Yeah, you keep telling me that the whispers are inconsistent, and it's making me so curious.
Yeah, so my explanation for this is that he's just hearing the whispers, and he's just hearing what, like, he's just subconsciously actually hearing actual words.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I've done too, in whispers or just with things that even sound like their voices, but they aren't really. I've heard like messages that aren't actually there. So
yeah, I mean, I think I've read it. Our brains, even like when we're not paying attention to sounds, our brains have certain sounds that it prioritizes. So if you're not paying attention but you hear your name, you're suddenly going to be alerted to it. Where like there are just things in your head that it's so looking for that when something is unclear, it's going to think, was it that?
He goes to go ask Saeed what he heard when he heard the whispers, but doesn't get anything.
Yeah. And Jack is putting the guns away, which is pretty good, but Sawyer still has his, and Kate's like, oh, I'll get it, which...
And then Jack's like, no, you don't have to do that, that's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, Claire wants to talk to Charlie, but he's pushing her away because he's subconsciously traumatized and all that, which we get explored more later. But Sawyer finds the tarp, no boar, hears whispers,
yeah, and then the boar attacks him.
And this, I'm just like, so this is the episode where Sawyer just gets bullied.
You love to see it.
It feels pointless, but it is funny to see him getting rammed.
Yeah.
And he just wants to shoot it. And Kate is like, you could just let Locke hunt it. He knows. And I'm like, yeah, you could. Well, yeah, you could. But also Sawyer shooting it is like, that also works for getting them food. So I kind of feel like it doesn't matter either way. So there's not much stakes for me in terms of whether Sawyer kills this boar himself or not.
Yeah, Charlie and Hurley are burying Ethan, and, Hurley goes to go ask Saeed about, PTSD.
Yeah, awkwardly, of course.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And Kate ends up helping Sawyer track the boar, and this is where it hits me.
Because Sawyer sucks so hard at tracking.
Yeah.
Saying that it's
No,
like,
no. Tracking is insane. Tracking is just straight up magic. Let's
but she
real.
points out that at one point he was tracking himself. Like.
But anyway, yeah. So she wants full access to his stash, and they end up playing Never Have I Ever, except they don't even call it what that's called.
Yeah. Which is really weird.
And
the only interesting things from this is that Sawyer says he's never been in love, which I'm like, really? Not even Cassidy? Like, come on.
Sawyer also votes Republican, which is something.
Yeah, he goes, I never voted Democrat, and Kate went up to him, I never voted.
Maybe Sawyer votes independent. Who knows?
Now he votes Republican. Come on.
For all we know, he votes green.
I think this is so funny too because this is such a mid 2000s show. Like, imagine trying to make a character like this now, and also have them be the likable hot one. Like,
yeah,
Twitter would be jumping down your throat.
Yeah, because that just has a very different baggage now. I mean, frankly, in retrospect, I think that things should have had a baggage even then. I mean, the Iraq War was going on at the time, and public opinion on that was weird.
Yeah, this is also where Kate reveals that she was married at one point. So setting up for that season 3 plot flashback. And then they both reveal that they've killed someone.
Yeah, which is just... And the thing is, because I've seen the flashbacks, it's like, I can see the way the scene goes coming, but I still will give him credit for how they paced the scene, where he says it, she slowly drinks, and then slowly you see him also take a drink.
Yeah, then Sawyer has a nightmare combined with all of his stuff.
Yeah.
And they wake up to find that the boar has eaten all of Sawyer's stuff, but not Claire, or not Kate's.
Yeah, and I mean, they suggest it could be his cologne, and like, honestly, maybe.
Yeah, then Locke shows up and tells a story of some random dog that his foster mom thought was his sister, which it's like,
so
way to set up this whole episode, Locke.
The thing about this is that this is just like the worst episode of Friends.
Oh, you told me about this with the cat.
Which episode I mean?
Yeah. With the cat.
See, like, it's 2021, so anyone listening might tell us every episode of Friends sucks, and I'm not even gonna argue with that. But like, there's the episode of Friends where like Phoebe's mom died, and she thinks that the cat is her mom, and everybody like refuses to tell her that that's stupid because they're scared of hurting her, and it's just so awful to watch. And that is literally almost exactly like what Locke is talking about here.
Yeah. We have Saeed trying to, empathize with Charlie, but Charlie's still pretty shut off. Sawyer first tries to use a piglet as bait that they find,
which is that's a dick move.
Mm-hmm. And then eventually chooses not to shoot the boar.
Yeah, which, like, okay, character moment, because he regrets shooting that guy, and also, I think using the piglet, like, is that a war crime?
No, because it's a boar.
Okay, then is it a boar crime?
Fuck right. I hate you so much, honestly.
I didn't even have that planned. Anyway, so we see the raft. Again, it was surprising to me that it was even really happening. Sawyer goes to Jack, jokingly points the gun at him, and Jack's like, "You try to be funny." And yeah, Sawyer ain't funny. And for a moment, it feels like this is a love triangle scene where they're setting up the rivalry between the two. But then we get that's why the Sox will never win the series, which is still funny to me.
Yeah, so by this point, this episode aired in January 2005, so they had won. But in the show, it is only October 20th, and they will win in exactly 1 week. So, in universe, they haven't won yet. They're very close, though.
A genuinely legendary win. But anyway, so we get Sawyer realizing it, And I love this shit. You know this is my shit. And he's like, he's thinking like, wait, I recognize that phrase. He's like, was your dad also a doctor? And then he doesn't say that he figured it out. And I'm just like, I hate this. It's not even bad writing. I get that Sawyer just isn't the kind of guy to say it. I get that they're trying to keep the tension up and they'll probably have it be talked about eventually, considering that Jack and Claire are also half-siblings. It's not bad writing. I just hate it.
Yeah, but at least now Sawyer knows, so that's... It's there in the back of his mind.
Yeah, and I hope they find the body at some point and they can talk about it.
So, I'm just going to ask you just one question for these set of episodes, because not too much was really interesting. What do you think will happen with the raft, and what do you hope will happen with the raft?
That's honestly really, really hard to say. Like I have to rule things out to think about this logically. I raised Hydra Island as a possibility, but I'm not sure it'll take them there, because I think those who would be on a raft would not get to Hydra Island and think, let's explore this. And maybe there'll be a reason, maybe they will, but my current thought is they're not going to think, let's explore this, they're going to think, no, let's go out to sea. So I don't think that the raft leading people to Hydra Island makes that much sense as a plot point, at least with what I know now. And it's not going to take them far out to sea, because they just have to come back. It's not going to kill off characters, obviously. So does it take them around the island? It won't take them to the other's base. I don't think it'll take them to Ana Lucia's gang. Maybe this is the last we see of them in season 1, but they meet up with Ana Lucia's gang and bring Ana Lucia's gang back. But I don't see that. I don't see these characters being done for season 1. Maybe, but I don't think that's likely. Would it take them just somewhere? Maybe they just land somewhere else around the island? The thing is, wherever they land around the island, there has to be something that keeps them there or makes them come back. I mean, is it going to be as simple as they go out into the ocean and it doesn't work, so they come back? Would they even be able to come back?
I will tell you.
I don't know.
Do you think Lost would ever do something that simple?
No, that's the thing. But I don't know what else could happen.
Okay, well, we will have to see what happens.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
When's it going to come up that Hurley can talk to dead people?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, obviously the writers just didn't think of that yet, but it's still kind of odd. Like, sometimes when something, like, okay, Sun having cheated on Jin, not coming up, makes perfect sense. Hurley seeing dead people really feels like something that would be focused on. Like, there have been dead people. Someone just died. Two people just died.
Unless you count Dave as a dead person, I don't think he can talk to dead people yet.
Huh. So something changes. That's okay. Huh.
I'm trying to remember the first time it happens, and I can't... I think I know when it is, but I'm not sure, so I'm not going to say anything more.
You know, another thing. The numbers... I don't think the numbers have really
the numbers
will
come up real soon. Don't worry about it.
I think for the numbers to be as iconic as they are, they would have to come up during season 1. And I hope... I feel like we haven't gotten a Hurley flashback episode yet, right? I feel like that's got to be soon, and we got to see a lot of the numbers stuff. And for that to happen, we also need to see some numbers stuff in the present.
Oh yeah, trust me. The numbers are coming. The numbers are coming. So,
what's your favorite one of the numbers?
Like individually, or when they my favorite of when they appear?
Individually.
23.
Interesting. I'm gonna go with 8.
I hope you'll join us next time. We are covering episode 38, October 22nd to the 27th, and episode 39, October 27th to November 1st.